Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of What's Your Thought? A talk show for the youth, by the youth, and today our topic is building a career, and we have a special guest with us, Mr. Kinkit. Okay, so just a basic introduction and summary of his career and of who is Mr. Kinkit. So he has a bachelor degree in information system, something I'm doing as well, information technology, woo! And right now he's currently working as a HR professional. For those who don't know, what they do is that they look through countless resumes and they determine who is capable of working in what job and whatnot. So I feel he's definitely more than qualified to speak about a career and how to build a career.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Mr. Kinkit. It's an absolute privilege.
It's definitely my pleasure to be here this morning. Right.
So, previously in Isabel's previous What's Your Thought talk show, we did address calling versus career. I do recommend you guys take a look at that episode. We really go very in depth with Pastor Joel. And to build on that, this episode as a follow-up episode, we decided to call you over here so we can discuss how we can build a career with God in mind.
Yes.
So. But before we get into that, I want to ask, how do we as youth even decide what career we're going into? Because our church youth struggle with choosing what place to eat for dinner.
We spend 30 minutes every day after evening service or after the Sunday morning service just discussing on where to eat, and we have so much difficulty in finding out. And then in the end we just go, whatever, we just go back to the same place.
Yeah, exactly. And dinner lasts an hour, but career is something that will be a race bowl for lifetime. So we can't just switch our careers left and right and everywhere. So how would you expect us as youth to determine what's the best career path for us that we can stick long term and that will be beneficial to us in the future?
If you go and pick up what I call it as the yawning book, the book that the moment you pick up and you start yawning, which is what most people call dictionary, career is being defined as a profession for which one trains and which is undertaken as a permanent role, calling a career in a specific field or industry. Okay, it sounded boring, right? But to simplify it, or how I think about career is actually about priorities in life. When you want to build your career, you have to think about your priority in selecting a job or finding your role in the marketplace or in the market space out there. So, being a Christian, whether you are a young adult or young lady, you have to start thinking and list down things that matters to you most. So for me personally, having a churchy lifestyle, staying close with God, that is number one. So I must build my career in such a manner that I won't drift far away from the things of God, of all my relationship with God. Secondly, to me, is family. I want to be close with my family. I want to take care of them, be committed to them, spend time with them after working. So I will prefer not to travel. I will prefer not to work over the weekends and things like that. Obviously, when you want to work, you need to earn enough, right?
Definitely.
To feed your family, to pay bills, and most importantly, have savings. You don't just want to work and not save anything at all. Then after that, which most people label as the first, but I put this as the last on my list, after all those things that I mentioned, is that then now you talk about your interests. Then now you think about you as a person, having your set of personalities, and you need to think about this, is that what brings fulfillment in becoming the expert of your particular desired dream job. So these are items that you need to put down in your checklist, which I believe is very, very vital.
That's wonderful insight for sure. Because from what I identify, when I first thought, when they said identify your career, I always just thought, what do I like? Immediately my first thing, which is your least priority, for me it was my first priority last time. What do I like? Because I was quite unsure of what I wanted to make as my career at that time. So I was like, I just went with whatever I like at the moment, which was for me computers and everything. So I just straight went into IT because that's the only thing I knew of. And I wasn't so sure about making a successful career, but personally, how I was like, I figured out that, you know, I'm pretty good in this and there's a market right now, so that's why I went in personally for me.
I think it's drummed into a lot of youth now that you have to do something you like rather than something that allows for your priorities to be set in place. Like for me also, when I went into my career right now, which is digital marketing, I was told that do something you love. And like for me growing up, seeing my mom do digital marketing, it seemed very interesting. But once I did end up getting into digital marketing, I found that I had a lot less time. The working culture is more of you take your work, you work at home, and then after that you come in the next office and then continue working and you work and you work. You got to meet deadlines and everything. And that when I came into the realization that it was coming into my church life, I realized that maybe digital marketing was not for me, or maybe it's something that I have to reevaluate. So in this talk show, I hope we can address the how do we adjust our priorities accordingly? Because right now, especially in our Asian working culture, it's a very you work and you work and you work, and then after that you work and you work and you work, and then you earn whatever money you're due and you continue working. So to balance lifestyle and church and all these things is something that seemed as work-life balance is seen as very something not important in our Asian culture. So how would you recommend we deal with that?
Okay, I think the simplest way out of this is to migrate. But jokes aside, right? Migration might not. Most people do migration because of their interests, and they just want to live out of the Asia continent. But for those who want to remain in Asia, specifically us to continue living in Malaysia, to pursue serving this community here, you have to understand that as a person, just as much as companies or ministries, we have boundaries as well. You personally also must have boundaries. You know, there will not be an employer out there that will fully match your expectations. So with that being said, we can also throw that back to the employer. I cannot personally meet you in all your areas. So let's just work on the criteria where our employment contract that we mutually sign on, it must be a win-win situation. In a sense that I meet some of your requirements, you also must meet some of my requirements. But honestly speaking, as a young man or as a young lady, when you are starting to pursue your career, I want us to revolve back to our first point. Not leaving God, not leaving family aside, but other than that, start learning, start picking up whatever you can, spend your time, craft your efforts around the profession or industry you're interested in.
Then a question relating to your first point that you make about finding out our interest to learn more about it. How would you say for youth, because youth nowadays we look into a lot of things for sure. We're learning about I'm pretty sure now every youth nowadays can use a laptop. Everyone knows how to use, at least somewhat be able to use some sort of technology. How do we know that our particular interest, we are able to make a career out of it? From let's say, I like art, let's say art, I like art, my interest is art, but how are we going to identify if we can further our interest into a career?
Okay. When you talk about things that you like, you must also relate it in a sense, what I like, would it generate any sort of income out of it or not? You can say you love art, but if no one appreciates your art, guess what? You'll just be painting your house walls and no one's going to pay you for that, right? But I've known graffiti calligraphers as well. They make tons and tons of money. They would just put something on their blog. They would just post something up, NFT,
Yeah,
right?
yep.
And people would pay to buy them. So again, with what you like, and if you are wanting to enter into the market space, if what you like is not going to generate you any income, I would suggest for you to reconsider, because let's face it, reality and growing up as a young adult, most things that we like, if it's worthless in the market space out there, you cannot find a job. So you have to face reality in a sense. Yeah.
You spoke just now about upskilling yourself, which is something that is very common that you hear being spoke to you. Is something that, like, you're young, the only thing you should be doing now is focusing on upskilling yourself. That's what I hear a lot. And so how would you recommend we upskill ourselves, and where in particular do you recommend we focus our efforts to upskilling?
Right.
How do we
I
view
think
ourselves
I think that comes under the header of how to prepare ourselves for that particular career. Now, once you've identified your interests, once you know what you want to do long term, and you seem to enjoy doing what you're doing, right? So the first recommendation is to start picking up technical courses about it. It does not matter whether you're in IT, you're in finance, you're in engineering. The technical part of your profession is very, very vital to grow, right? So just picking up some examples, nobody wants to be a technician for life unless you find that it's sufficient for your family. Now again, that's priority, right? But if you want to climb as an electrician, being a technical person, let me ask you both one question, right? How much do you think a general technician that services maybe a shop lot building like this would earn in a month? Just take a wild guess. Ringgit Malaysia, let's talk about Ringgit Malaysia per month.
General, like just a normal.
Three floor shop lot like this.
7K?
6, I say 5-6K. No, less or more.
Technician, yeah? I'm talking about technician, just electrician.
Just normal, like those like workers.
I'll reveal you the answer, but in a range.
I say 3 to 4K. 3 to 4K. Right.
3 to
3 to
4K.
4K, that's so low.
But like there's
like
a
3
lot.
stories building, okay.
Technician that they hire always a lot one, so they can't be giving out such high. I say 2.5 to 3K. On lower end for me.
Okay, I think I'll stick 5K. 5 to 4K.
4 to 5K
4 to
lah.
5K, yeah.
Yo.
5K.
Okay. So for Keenan's answer, technicians will be lining up to work for him, okay, in the market. Now, truth be told, in Malaysia now, the range of this sort of blue collar, it's only around 1.5 to 2.8K.
Really? But these are hard jobs.
Hard
Okay,
jobs.
so with that being said, that's just on the base level, right? And I'm referring to electrical technicians. But you can upskill yourself by picking up a lot of technical courses and specifically tying to electrical engineering. So what are the things that is very crucial nowadays? There's something called chargeman. People in this field would know. Chargeman, there's a lot of grades to it. AO, A1, A4, BO chargeman. BO chargeman, when you reach that level, you are in charge of electrical projects for the whole corporate building. So guess what happens if you don't know the circuit for that whole building? The whole building gets lit up and it will be the greatest fireworks that you'll be seeing in KL, right? So these sort of people, when you pick up their course, it's not easy. It comes with management experience. It comes with a cost to it. It's not just bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. And you're looking about at a good, 5-figure salary for this kind of person. And if the person is humble, he will just say, I'm a technician. But in reality, he's a chargeman. So that's upscaling yourself. So we all start low. We all start at the base somehow. But sooner or later in your profession, you need to find things that are worthwhile to your technical background. Yeah.
So it would be wise for the youth to start, learning more of this skill in their area where they are interested in lah. So for me, it would be to go learn more about different types of coding, how to apply and all that lah, right? So
Yep.
to get more of an advantage.
Just a short tip for that and for you as well. I think things like HTML and all
Yeah,
of this
correct.
is dying off,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
But the new in thing now is Android, Java, and iOS
Yes.
development, right?
They're going to mobile
So-
nowadays because everyone's.
So that's on the IT piece.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So you need to go research and to learn more of these technical skills will help me to gain advantage over my peers lah.
Yep.
Any general skills that would be great for anybody to pick up? Things like good communication skills, good speaking skills.
Soft skills.
Yeah, just soft skills in general that we could pick up that would give us a huge edge over the rest of our competitors in our current generation.
I think one of the advantage of growing up in church is that you are naturally equipped with all of this. So that is why you come to church, right? So,
Sort of what's your thought?
you
Sponsored by
learn,
the Potter's Fellowship.
you learn how to deal with people. You know how to work around things. You know how to plan for schedules. You know what it takes to be punctual. All of these are soft skills. And one of the things out there that is in need most is customer service skills. Okay? So really, if you look in the job market, whether you are an internal person or a client-facing person, you will soon realize after you've entered the job field, no matter what you do, whether it's a very introverted role or an extrovert role, everyone is your customer. That includes your boss, that includes your manager, that includes your peers, that includes your subordinates, that includes your client, your stakeholder, your distributor, whatsoever. Everyone is your customer. So when we talk about customer service skills, right, that generally out there are so many courses, there's so many videos to view, but what's the most practical thing to do is to start facing people. Really, how many videos can you watch? And if
Right.
you don't deal with people, how do you
Best way to take it on, just straight on,
Yeah.
just go.
you will find yourself being very awkward all the time if you don't start dealing with people,
That's
right?
true. I
That's
think
true,
you
that's
have a
true.
lot of experience in that.
I gotta work.
Three seasons now into what's your thought, right? You guys have developed over the years, speaking with your guests, your special guests, and I'm sure this is one form of communication skills as well, right?
Right. So that would be like the biggest soft skill companies are looking for, like customer service. Other than just customer service, any other particular soft skills that people need? Because I know is big thing they want is leader, or is it? Would they prefer someone that has a leader's like a leader's soft skill, or would they prefer of like a more of a team player soft skills? Because I remember during my college, soft skill they particularly look for was like leader, not so much of like a team player, if you get what I mean.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
wanted more of a leader type of person than a follower, basically. So for the outside working world, would they prefer more of a team player, or would they prefer more of like a leader type of soft skill?
Now, when it comes to that query, it all falls back to the role on itself by the nature of it. Now, why I say that, it's because out there are two types of role. One is an independent contributor, which we call it as an IC role. The other one would be what you mentioned, a supervisor role, a team leader role, and probably you are going to have a good sizable team that you manage for number of subordinates, right? Now, when it comes to leadership skills that the corporate world is looking for, it gets broken up into two areas as well. Leading oneself and leading a team. You have to be able to lead yourself to carry out your tasks as perfect as possible, right? If you cannot lead yourself, don't bother being an independent contributor. Wherever you go, you will end up being thrown out of the job. Cool? So let me just clear that up and That goes for everyone. Next, when you move into a leadership role, specifically managing a team, now you have to dig deep into your, subordinates' lives, your team members' lives. Okay, so when I say dig deep into your subordinates or your team members' life, is to basically just understand them, of whom they are, what sort of background, what kind of upbringing they are, whether you know their life circumstance well enough or not. Then you should be able to know how to manage them, and then that would project yourself as to how you be a leader to them. That kind of thing. Yep.
All right, so we look at like the hard skills and the hard skill and soft skills on how to build yourself, how to upskill ourselves. That's a very nice word.
Conveniently, this is also something that you do pick up in church.
Yeah, definitely.
Learning about like the different people that you work with and the different kinds of people, the different life circumstances they have, and understanding that. So, but before we move on any further, I'm going to have to stop you. We're going to move on into our next segment and a section by Emily called But Factually. Emily, you can take the stage.
Guys, welcome back to But Factually, conducted by yours truly, Emily. So recently I done a bit of research and found some really interesting facts about stay-at-home parents. And I would like to just share with you guys a bit about it. So, it is believed that stereotypically, there are more women wanting to be a stay-at-home parent than a man. But factually, there has been a modest increase among fathers as being a stay-at-home parent. The share of dads at home rose from 4% to 7%, while the share of moms staying at home and being a stay-at-home parent remained largely unchanged from 27% to 28%. Also, another interesting fact to add on would be that according to the 2019 data from salary.com, is that if you are a stay-at-home parent and if you were to be paid for the services, you will be looking at a median annual salary of $178,201. So, converting it into MYR, it would round up to a whopping 776,065 ringgit. What a crazy amount. But by this crazy sum, we also have to look at how much stay-at-home parents work around the clock. Stay-at-home parents often act as chauffeurs, nannies, chefs, house cleaners, and even tutors. So the last and final fact I got for you today is that according to recent researchers, women are reported doing more than 3/4 of unpaid care work globally when compared to men, and make up 2/3 of the paid care workforce. They carry out 2.5 billion hours of unpaid care work every day. When valued at minimum wage, this will represent a contribution to the global economy of at least $10.8 trillion a year. What a crazy sum! So that's all I got for you guys today for But Factually, and I hope you guys enjoy. What's your thought?
Alright, so thank you, Emily, for that very interesting fact that we learned. So now let's continue with our second half of the talk show. Just two questions I got that I feel that's very important that we will definitely encounter in terms of building our career. The first one is interview. How do we prepare for an interview? Because it's how we get a job, right? We have to go through an interview. So a lot of us may not know how to prepare and conduct ourselves in the interview, definitely. So how would you tell the youth about this?
Right. I have workshops on this that is 1 hour long, but I will summarize and try to keep it very, very swift. All right. So how to prepare for an interview? The very sharp points is that you need to study the job description. That's for sure. Research on the company that you're applying for. You know the background, know the basics. Are they profitable? You don't want to join a sinking ship, right? Join somewhere and then you have to find another job after a few weeks, right? You have to prepare questions on your particular role. Be prepared when you face the interviewer, when you face the potential manager. That's where you throw them your queries. And how to conduct yourself is to be yourself, right? I say that without any limitation on how you project yourself, because I realized that you will slowly learn how to attend interviews. You know, when I was a freshie, I attended almost 25 interviews in the beginning. Then I realized I only get a projection hit of 4 to 5 job offers out of that 25 interviews. Then I start looking at myself in front of the mirror and say, did I say something wrong? Did I say something nonsensical? or things like that. Then I improve from there. So that is for interviews.
Interviews, all right. Then another question, this is more of like a very touchy subject, very particular. It's like something, especially in Asian culture, we don't talk much about salary. You know, because in an interview, definitely salary is a very big topic. Of course, we need to get our money and how much we earn per month. So how do you say we as youth negotiate salary? Because you know, we don't want to get on the wrong end of the.
It's probably the hardest part of the,
the hardest
interview
part
when I think
of the
about
interview when they ask, definitely. So how would
Okay.
you?
On the basis of this, instead of giving you a direct answer, I will throw back a question at all the youths, of all those whom are watching this episode as well. Have you studied the market? Have you studied your particular role's salary range? The expectations of the pay, right? You cannot negotiate with someone where you don't even know the market in the first place. You cannot blindly go to an employer and say, I want 5,000 ringgit. The person will say, who are you, right?
Right.
So study the market, and another way is to start networking with headhunters, you know, HR professionals, or your peers in that particular industry or field. Someone who is already very knowledgeable in that industry. Someone who is working currently in that field. Ask them, you know, as a start, as a freshie, as a you know, young man or young lady, how much should I be asking from my employer? So once you studied already, when you attend for job interviews, you could not run far from the company's budget already. You know,
Right.
some, it's very obvious, they try to lowball you.
Yeah.
Move on. You know, that's not the right employer for you. But some, they will meet you because of your interview outcome, and that is the exact pay range, right? So why do I want to miss this good
Yeah.
candidate who's asking for what is the exact amount? So I would say do your research first.
Definitely.
With that in mind, me and Brian definitely shouldn't be asking for technician salaries anytime soon.
No, I'm okay. Mine is alright. Yours is just a bit high on the higher end of the margin.
I don't think I'll be going for technician interviews anytime soon. But now that aside, what issues do you think we face? Because when I first started working in general, a lot of things came like as a huge change for me, and it was very hard to adjust to the thing. One of the things that really I struggled with was, particularly as a Christian, keeping time for church. Sometimes my boss would want me to work extra hours on service time. Sometimes my boss on Sundays would need me to come in to do some emergency things to continue fulfilling my responsibilities at work. Because in a marketing agency, especially in particular, sometimes when things need to be done, things need to be done. You know, we're rushing a promotion for Christmas or Raya or some big event that just so happens to land on a Sunday, and I have to get the thing out. And it really conflicts with my church schedule. So adjusting to that has been really difficult for me. And another thing has been burnout for me, because my whole life as a youth, I've been told that when you go to work, you're going to have to put your time and effort in. But nobody ever told me about working to the point where I don't want to work anymore. But you have to force yourself through every day. And it came as a huge shock to me. So how do you think we should deal with these issues one by one?
Okay, possible challenges or issues, right? Finally, I can pull out a scripture. Matthew chapter 22, verses 21. They all replied, Caesar's. Well, then he said, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give to God what belongs to God. This is where the part the Pharisees are challenging Jesus himself. Do we need to pay tax? Right? But Jesus is highlighting to us, render, you know, what belongs to Caesar. In other words, Jesus is also highlighting that when you owe tax to Caesar, it's because you're living in his kingdom. Caesar's kingdom. Which I would now relate it for use. This is the culture out there. This is the government. This is tax that you need to pay. So when you sign up for a job, you pick up a role, you have to look at the culture of it. We all talk about culture adaptiveness these days, right? So the challenge is that you need to pick a workplace that has a culture that matches your expectation. You cannot be picking up a job that requires you to go to pubs and bars, to have a good time with clients. It is a real requirement, you know. It's not something that is a fairy tale to Christians, but it is happening out there. I know people who work out there, and after working hours, guess what? Happy hour. And that's reality. So you have to pick a place where it allows you to still stay clean and serve God. If it's a very toxic environment, meaning to say there are people, insulting people, degrading people, also ask yourself, how long can you work in that sort of environment, right? And when it comes to your questions of burning out, right? I don't know any employer out there that would pay you in order for you not to be burned out, to be honest. Let's clear things first, right? When I give you an employment contract, you are expected to work, right? And process improvement and technical upscaling, that's a separate topic again. But boundaries, back to where we were in the first place. You need to let your employer know. Sundays, I'm not here. I'm not going to be here.
For sure.
No matter what. Saturdays, if it's not a burning situation, if no one is dying, don't need to call me, right? I will work when I need to. And so, to overcome burnout, you need to stay close to God, seriously. There's no other way. People out there are finding ways to overcome their burnout. Go for vacation, find the next hype out there, go for entertainment, maybe go for a massage, I don't know. There are a lot of things that people do that, they try to ease their burnout period. But ultimately, just like what we watched the other day, John 4:14, but those who drink the water I give will never be thirsty again.
Right.
It will become a fresh, bubbling spring within them, giving them eternal life. So only God can help you go through those burnout periods and era of your life.
Yep. So I got another point to build on both of what you just said. Because recently I had an interview to prepare for an internship. This is more of I'm asking on how do we deal when the employers ask a question directed at Christian. Because he asked me, what responsibilities do I have to hold? That means what takes up my time. So I told him my church. I told him the first thing is church. Church takes up my time. Just give him a straightforward answer. Church takes up my time. And what he asked me is that I want to know how do we deal with when employers ask us about church, and if we are able to negate and go around church, if you get what I mean. Because he asked me if am I willing to skip church to work, and I straight up told him no lah, of course. But I want to know is how are you able to deal with these situations, on what you just said as well.
Right. I want us to think about that particular interviewer when he asked you that question.
Yep.
The motive behind that is that he wants to know what kind of hours can you contribute in his workspace or in his team or in his company. So I guess the right answer to that is that he wants to know, as much as you are devoted to church, how are you devoted to him as well? As a staff, as a working subordinate. So I always align expectations with my employer or my manager. I say, Sundays I'm there for church. There are ministry times. Wednesday night, please don't call me. I'm in church. other than that, official working hours, I am punctual, I am there. If there are ad hoc queries or if there are ad hoc tasks, I will get things done. So I don't see a challenge in how I can be devoted on both sides. So when you reaffirm your employer that, you're most probably there already. Yeah. Because a lot of times as young adults, what we tend to answer in a flick without much thinking is that, oh, I need to be in church.
Right.
I cannot work when I am in church. Actually, that's not what they want to hear. What they want to hear is that Monday to Fridays, 9 to 5, 9 to 6, I'm there. You know, if I need to be there at 8 a.m. in order for me to leave on time at 6 or 5, I will be there. You know, that gives them the sense of assurance.
That's how we properly deal with that situation when it arises. You know?
No, I think we've covered a good amount of topics already. Our time for this talk show may be a bit longer than we have expected, but I've really enjoyed this talk show.
Yeah,
It's given me
definitely.
some great insight. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and
Yep.
to God what belongs to God. I love that.
And most importantly, at the end of the day, we also spoke about God. How do we align God with our career and make sure we don't put our career above God, because that's something a lot of people do nowadays for sure.
So thank you once again so much for being on our show, Mr. Kinkit. It's been an absolute privilege speaking with you and just learning about all these different aspects of our careers. Well, I guess that's all we have for today. So let's end it with a final. What's your thought?
Alright, Jacob, that's it. Wrap it up. We're done.